All right, excellent. Aloha, aloha, everybody. Welcome to the Dropping Gems podcast. And I'm excited to be back with you all. Today, we have an amazing guest. He's absolutely a phenomenal man. We also have mutual friends, and we live on an island. So it's a small island. So it's about who you know. And I had the opportunity. This is our first official time meeting. So, this conversation that you guys are going to see is going to be real, it's going to be raw, it's going to be organic. Um, with me, this is the Dropping Gems podcast, and I go by Nina, aka the Messenger. And with me today, I have a phenomenal guest. His name is Cain Kamano. He is a 4 times international speech district winner of Toastmasters International. He's also a speaker, a presentation, he's a coach, he's a lead facilitator and president with High Performance Presentations. He is a public speaking, has a public speaking training company for speaking public. He also is a wonderful husband to one, a father to one, and a grandfather to three. And he also has his own podcast as well too. So I'll let him tell you a little bit more about that. So without further ado, please help me welcome Cain to the show. Aloha, braha.
Hey, aloha, Nina. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Me too.
So, yeah, I am. I'm excited to have you on the show. I caught a couple little pieces of your podcast. I know you guys kind of go, live, and you normally have guests on. And I know that we have a mutual friend. I actually dedicated my first episode to Jason because me and him
Oh,
had talked about me having a podcast a couple years ago. So I was really inspired by the how you gist and just Jason all around as an amazing human being. Rest in peace. And so, yeah, just kind of curious, like, what made you reach out and decide that you wanted to come onto the podcast and have a conversation?
it was definitely that connection with Jason. Yeah, it was the same here. The difference is I had spoken to Jason the Sunday before the Tuesday he passed about creating a podcast. And I went to him to ask him some questions, suggestions, tips, where to go, what to do, and we had a like at least an hour conversation, and he sounded upbeat and normal. And then towards the end, he goes, "Oh, by the way, Kane, I'm in the hospital right now." I was totally shocked because,
Oh,
yeah, he didn't sound like he was in the hospital, and we had a great conversation. And he was enthusiastic as far as being released the next day, Monday, and that's what I expected. But sometimes what we expect doesn't turn out how we want. So
yeah,
that connection
yeah.
right there made me reach out to you. Said, you know what, I want to see what this is all about, and to help you. We're fellow podcasters, and
Right.
so that's what
Right.
brought me
Thank
here.
you. Well, thank you for that. And Jason, thank you again for the inspiration and the motivation in order to allow us to use our voices. So I'm super grateful for that. So tell me, Kane, in your own words, I did a brief intro. However, in your own words, just tell us who you are and what it is that you do.
That's a It could be a deep question. In fact, I'll probably take it a
Take
little
it
deep.
however deep you want to take it, bro.
Yeah. I feel I am a man who's been forgiven over and over and over again, which inspires me to live the life I currently live, which is as a presentations coach. That's my number one thing that I love to do. I mean, I was a high school volleyball coach for 17, 18 years.
Okay.
But so just giving feedback is in my blood, and then this podcasting came along. We officially started January 26th. We go live every Monday, and I'm a co-host. So my co-host, my fellow Toastmaster, reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you like to do a podcast?" And I feel I'm an excellent podcaster too now. It's so fun. Just the guests that we have on and the interaction with our members. We have a private Facebook group right now. It's up to 500 members. And yeah, we have a haiku challenge as part of our podcast. At the end of the podcast,
Okay.
Whatever lessons the members learn from the guests, they get to write a haiku, and then we get to choose a winner. I mean, there's so many things going on. That's currently what I'm doing. I have so many interests. I'm a jack of all trades. I'm a Gemini, so that might say
Okay. Well, you know what? I have several close, intimate relationships with Geminis. My mama's a Gemini, my brother is a Gemini as well too,
nice.
and my niece is a Gemini. So they're all Geminis.
Nice. Well, there you go. You have another brother right here.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so when you say something along the lines of I've been forgiven over and over again. Now, are
Mm,
you referring to as like external forgiveness from maybe, an outside perspective, or maybe, people that you might have felt that, you know, you needed forgiveness from, or is this more like an internal journey of forgiveness, or how would you surmise when you say forgiveness what that is?
yeah, great question. Both. I definitely both. I mean, it's hard to accept forgiveness from others, the external, if you don't forgive yourself first, the internal. So yeah, I mean, gosh, where do I start with that? I I kind of tell my story this way. I was arrested 5 times before high school, and that seemed to be kind of my journey for a little bit. I got into trouble as an adult with gambling, and how I tell that story is that at the time I was in my mid 20s. I had a $42,000 annual income with a corporate job, which is good money today. And this was in the
Mhm.
mid 90s. I think I said that, but I had a $50,000 a year habit. And if you can imagine how someone just blows money so quickly, you'd have to break a lot of people's trust,
Mm.
and that's what I did. Gambling, it's just like drug, any addiction, negative addiction can lead you down a path if you're not aware of it and real about it, that you don't want to be down. And so uh, I hurt a lot of people along the way. I mean, some really, really terrible things. And that was in my early 20s. I'm almost 50 now. And just along the way, I got married and even broke my wife's heart a couple times. And from that, we were able to work things out and she forgave me. Slowly, the people I've hurt have forgiven me over time. But once again, I learned gratefully early that I really needed to forgive myself. I mean, there's deeper rooted issues that I don't think we need to really cover in
Right, right.
here, but yeah, just learning to forgive myself. That and then I'm a believer. I have faith in the Lord that I know He's forgiven me, so that's all I really need.
Mm, mm.
And yeah, so hopefully that answers your question, both internal and
Yeah,
external.
internal and external. Yeah, and that's very big. There's scriptures that that even highlight and talk about forgiveness, and it talks about that you know in order for us to be able to embrace God's forgiveness ultimately for us, we have to be in a place in which we forgive our neighbors wrongdoings against us, and that we don't hold those things against them as well too, right? As we are forgiven, so we can forgive. And
Yeah.
one of the things that you shared, about the forgiveness, I wanted you to maybe kind of highlight or touch on. What do you say? Because you said that that it was about trust, and you had to rebuild that trust with those
Mhm.
broken relationships, and you had to
Yeah.
rebuild that trust with your word and how you broke your word to yourself.
Mhm.
Um, However, when you find that people are open and willing to forgive you, why do you think that that is?
I think if for me, in my case, me making an honest effort, let
Okay.
me let me start this way. Actually, not everyone has forgiven me, you
Hmm.
know.
Okay.
Um, so, but on my end, me making an honest effort to change, to be better,
Mm.
helps the person to forgive and to rebuild that trust. In the case of my wife and I, we got married in 2004. We were on the verge of divorce in 2006. We separated for 6 months, in fact, and I made some changes. We attended. You know what? I really kind of feel saved our marriage partially was when we attended Sai. I know we have that in common as well.
Okay.
My wife and I attended as a couple in January 2008.
Okay.
And because of that basic inner work, we've been married since. We'll make 17 years next Thursday.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah,
Yeah.
thanks. So, and then on the flip side, some people just can easily forgive because they, like you said, they've been forgiven themselves, so they have that higher perspective. Um, yeah, it just depends on the person, I feel.
Okay. Okay. That definitely makes sense. Now, on your journey, in order to, like you said, to change, to become a different, a higher, a better version of yourself,
Yeah.
how long approximately do you think that it took for you to notice a difference, like in your habits and your behaviors, right? Because we talked about addictions, and addictions are habits that we do repetitively. It
Yeah.
releases hormones and endorphins and dopamine, especially when you're like getting that rush from something like gambling, right? The
Yeah.
risk, you play big, you lose big, but you have the
Yeah.
opportunity to win big. So knowing that those things were kind of, had become habits, and that they were something that had kind of became a part of like the way you think and like your mindset and stuff. How long would you say that it kind of took you in order to kind of start to shift and reset those things or reset those habits?
Yeah, that's another great question too. Mainly because I tell my wife all the time that I believe we can change in an instant.
Okay.
Obviously, it takes a lot of effort for something like addiction to overcome, as you mentioned. But to answer your question, for me, it took me many, many years. So even though we attended Psi and it really kind of it helped solidify our marriage, I was still gambling till 2011. So that's uh, 95, 2005, 15 years, 16 years. When I started to kind of like make the turn, I was like, okay, I gotta be a better man. I mean, uh, so first, it's an awareness, right? And then for me, wanting to make the change, yeah, I never wanted to make the change. It was until I wanted to make the change. So I could have made the
Mm-mm.
change after 1 year, right? If I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to make the change. And so it took me 16 years to want to make the change, and I'm still in a way um, paying penance. I don't know. I feel it's not penance. It is partially penance, but I'm still paying restitution from
Mm.
money. I just started on that payment journey 3 4 years ago, and in and of that self makes me feel good.
Mm.
Just paying back money that I stole 20 years ago. Is it's kind of a rare thing. I think who would actually,
Yeah.
you
Redemption
know,
in a way. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
put
But even
themselves on
that,
that.
yeah, you definitely put yourself in the hot seat to even not only be aware, however, that accountability
Mm,
aspect of it as well too,
yeah,
to say, what, these are some things I can't undo or change what has transpired or taken place.
yeah,
However, let me attempt to, right the wrongs, or at least allow me in order to have some redemption,
yeah,
and where it is possible to have restoration and restore that trust, and just be a man of integrity, right? Because
yeah,
most importantly, it
exactly.
sounds like it possibly is more of you wanting to be right, and you want to have your integrity intact. You know what I mean? And that's the character of who you are. That, like, yeah, it was 20 years ago. However, that's still something that you want to make sure that now that you're aware of it, right? Now that you have that information and you're in a different place to be able to like make amends with those things.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a part also, I think, tied to my religious journey, my faith-based journey as well. On good years when I'm good, oh man, I have a lot of faith and everything's going well. And then when I'm bad, I don't go to church. I don't feel inspired. And so definitely the last, I don't know, about 5 to 10 years, I've definitely been on that higher level of trying to live with integrity, being just trying to be a good husband, father, grandfather now. In fact, now that I think of it, my grandson just turned 10.
Okay.
So maybe, now that, wow, I think I'm realizing something. Maybe when I became a grandfather, I realized, hey, and I was a young grandfather, I was 37, I'm 47 now. So, um, yeah, maybe that realization helped me to see, hey, I want to be a better example for my grandkids. So,
Mm-hmm.
wow,
Yeah.
that just
Because
that just hit.
that's legacy. Yeah, that's legacy. That's generational, right? So
Yeah.
when we talk about the sins of the father or the sins of the
Mhm,
grandfather, we pass it on the same as generational blessings. There's also
mhm,
generational curses, right?
mhm.
So to
Yeah.
be able to generationally pass something on, to pass on that blessing, to pass on the anointing, to pass on, not coming from debt, you know what I mean, or having an abundance mindset,
Yeah.
is really powerful. And I I can really say now that you've connected those dots that
Mhm,
that is something that's very significant that can shift and
mhm.
change things.
Yeah.
Because generally, right, when we're being raised by our parents are first time parents. They're doing the best
Yeah.
they can with what they
Yeah.
have, right?
Right.
And it sounds like you are a younger father. So with that, it's like now is an opportunity in order to, right, if you know better, then you do better, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
so having your grandson, and then, for some reason, sometimes it doesn't always happen in the lineage of when you have children.
Mm.
However, grandparents, sometimes you look at them and they're night and day. I mean, I
Yeah.
know that's how it is, in my family, right? Like,
Yeah.
my mom was a mom, and you know what I mean? She was a great mom for where she was and what she had going on and everything. However, just the love and the attention and the mindfulness that my nieces and nephews, because I don't have any children right now, that my
Mm.
nieces and nephews have, it's like sometimes I'm like, who is this woman? You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
like I'm a 80s baby, born and raised, I mean, raised in the 90s. And it's like during that time, there was different, like rules, and there was, discipline and things that we weren't allowed to do and say. And,
Mm.
just, I don't know if you use the words, but maybe they seem to be more strict,
Yeah.
for
Mhm.
us and for our generation. And
Yeah.
now it's just like to see her interaction, it's almost, in my eyes, has been, somewhat sobering and humbling to be able to see the capacity, because I want them, ultimately I love them too, so I want them to get all that abundance and that love. However, sometimes thinking back, I'm like, is this the same woman that raised
Yeah.
me all these years? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, is this the same person? Because to see how they are with their grandchildren, it's just it's different. It really
Yeah.
is. It
Yeah.
really is.
That's definitely the story for me. In some ways, I was kind of a strict father. My father was strict, and going back to what you're saying about generational blessings and curses, where did I learn to gamble was from my dad, and
Mm,
where did he learn to gamble was from his dad, and um, so I remember having a talk with my dad on one of the times I got arrested. I was 13, and he it's so funny. Like the first two times I got arrested and he had to pick me up. I mean, he gave me dirty licking, dirty, real dirty licking. And then like the third, fourth time, he tried to talk to me. He figured, okay, that's not working. So I remember him sitting down talking to me and telling me about, his dad being hard on him, and so that's why he's hard on me. And then when I became I was a young father at 17. I was hard discipline wise on my daughter. In fact, I picked up that paddle recently. It's actually for my grandkids, but here's the thing: my grandkids are so good that they'll never need it. I
Yeah.
just always want to have something like that because that's who I am as far as discipline. Um, but yeah, so I was hard on my daughter. Oh man, for a little thing, she got dirty licking, and I remember she never used to. What kid loves vegetables, right? But I'm one that doesn't like to waste food, so you're gonna sit there and eat it. And I remember like sitting on the dinner table like an hour, hour and a half, just waiting for her to eat like this much of food. I mean, I was really strict, and here's the thing. So going back to your point about becoming a grandparent, is that yeah, I'm totally different. I love my
Yeah.
grandkids. I spoil them. I give them candy, like nothing I would give my daughter. Um, like I always ask my grandson, "What do you want to eat? McDonald's? Okay, yeah, let's go." My daughter, no, there was no way. Um, yeah, it is different. There's a
It
switch
is. There
from a
is.
grandparent.
There is. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I love it
That's
though.
true.
I mean, it's great. I wish everyone could experience the joy of becoming a grandparent because yeah, you get to well, first of all, there's not that much stress as far as rearing the children, you
Right.
know that joke where I get to because I get to give them back.
Right.
And that part is so true. We don't have to like constantly night and day.
Yes.
Um So when we see them, once a week or whatever it is, how often it is, it's really, really special.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, thank you for bringing that up about being a grandparent because I love being a grandparent.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, I will use that if they need it.
If necessary, yes. However,
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays, I know that just kind of going around online, there was, people giving their feedback and their remarks on spanking. Like,
Mm,
what is spanking still necessary?
mm,
Should it be, and you have that generation um, that grew up with physical, discipline, and spankings, and like you said, getting, lickings and stuff.
yeah,
And, it really is a conscious decision,
yeah.
when we're wearing our children, like they would say, oh, if you refrain from using the rod, that you're going to spoil a child, etc. However, it's all about discipline. Discipline doesn't have to be a physical form of discipline. You
Yeah.
can discipline through other ways. You can discipline, especially with communicating those things. Because, like you say, even with your father, right? After he realized, like, okay, this is what I'm doing and I'm physically punishing him.
Mm.
However, you know what I mean? He's so hard headed, it's not getting through that thick skull of his. And so, let me attempt to do something different. If the
Yeah,
results that I'm getting is not the results that I want, then how can I change that?
yeah,
And sometimes it's just good to have something tangible that they can see, that they know, like, hey, no, act up, like, you know what I mean?
right, yeah,
Just so that they are aware and they know that, hey, you know what I mean? It doesn't have
yeah,
to come down to this. However,
yeah,
they need to be aware of it, because there is consequences. There's cause and effect for anything and everything that we do. So, it's
yeah.
always good to have that structure there. Okay. Okay. Awesome. So you're I guess you would be like a grandpa because you're still relatively young. So,
Yeah.
you would be a grandpa. So do they call you anything in particular? Do they call you like pops, grandpa? Like, what do they call you?
Papa, just Papa.
Papa. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my daughter is around her grandpa, so they call him Big Papa, or I don't know.
Okay.
There's like four men in their lives, and it's all a different form of Papa.
Form of papa. Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah,
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Great. Great. So, we kind of touched on the change that you made. You said that it was kind of some habits. I would say, when dealing with an addiction, right? Because an addiction can come in many shapes, forms, and fashions.
mhm,
What would be something that, if someone maybe is currently struggling with some type of addiction, we don't necessarily have to put a name on it, because it could be anything, just a
mhm,
habit that they have that they know is not conducive to who they truly are, or where they want to go, or who they want to be, right?
yeah,
Because that
yeah,
addiction is not necessarily who you are, but it's an experience and it's a phase, it's a stage that you're going through. what would be something that you could share with someone that's currently in a place of addiction? And if there are open and receptive, like you said, you first have to acknowledge that you want to change, or else you're
Yeah.
not going to. What is something that you could share with them when it comes to that?
Well, for me in my journey, definitely reaching out for help. And so I did attend Gamblers Anonymous. I went through a
Okay.
12-step program. Um, that did help. But for me also, like I said, as a man of faith, I reached out to my church and just sitting amongst the saints and gleaning from uh, gospel lessons. You know, there's a saying that the learning doctrine changes a man faster about than learning. Oh shoot, I forgot what the saying is. I'll find it. I'll find it. Hopefully,
Okay.
I can find it.
Yeah, it'll come back to you.
Yeah, but yeah, and it's so true. Just learning gospel doctrine principles help change me faster than just trying to learn about personality disorder, gambling addiction.
Mm,
So and then that connection with the source. For me, it's God and prayer. Um, yeah, just God. You need support. You can't. It's very hard to do it on your own. In fact, I don't know anyone that has done it on their own. So that's number one. And to change out a bad habit, you got to find a good habit. And so I
hmm.
started doing writing. Let's see, in that time, I was trying to do daily quotes on Facebook. If
Okay.
you search back far enough, I think it's 2014, 2013. I was doing positive quotes. It was to help remind myself of the lessons I was going through and I was being taught. And then change of perspective. And my wife and I took in, it was just my wife and I here in this house for a while. And then we decided to become first foster parents.
Okay.
And here's the thing I came full circle because I was raised in a foster home. And so now becoming a foster parent, wow, is surreal. Is funny. It's like my foster mom to me, we hear of kind of horror stories about foster parents, but mine were the best. I mean, my foster mom loved me. And she's the
Mm,
only woman that I really kind of look to as my mom. I finally met my birth mom in my mid 20s. Um, and I tell a story where I had four mothers in my life. My birth mom, my foster mom, my mother-in-law, and my stepmom. So my dad remarried and I had a stepmom. But going back to your question, to replace a bad habit, you got to find a good habit. And so focusing on raising a child. It was a brother and sister pair, actually.
oh
So
wow.
that lasted 6 months. They got reunited with their birth parents, and then we started hosting exchange students. So
Mm,
over the next 5 years, we took in like 65 exchange students over that time, and just sharing our culture here in Hawaii. Um, that helped me to. I forgot my past. I was just so putting so much focus on them and helping them enjoy our home, our culture, Hawaii, gave me a sense of purpose. I guess
mm.
that could be one answer too. Find a sense of purpose. And so, which I'm developing a TED Talk. We'll talk about that a little later if we got time. But
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So
yeah,
wow, like that's really, great things to share. Because you do have to find an alternative, whether you're changing your diet, whether you're changing a
yeah,
habit,
right,
it's most of the time, there are people that can just do it cold turkey,
yeah,
however, we generally have to find something that would be a healthier alternative for us to
yeah,
do. And if we're spending our time and we're spending our time, talent and energy and treasure elsewhere, then all we have to do is simply make that tweak or that shift, so that we can have something else that we're focusing on. And
yeah,
I love the fact that your focus was an outward focus, you know, because we
Yeah.
can do so much introspectively, we can do so much work and personal development. However, when you find a purpose, you know,
Mm,
outside of yourself, that's
mhm.
when you can really give from abundance. That's when you can give unconditionally.
Yeah.
Because yes, we are the most important asset in our lives. However, when we're planting seeds and we're paying it forward into the
Yeah.
next generation and into their lives and into their future, it definitely does open up our perspective of how we see things, you know. And as you know, as bountifully as we sow, right, we'll be able to reap. I mean, just to think that on top of your biological children and the
Mhm.
children that you know, that that are yours, you also took on a level of responsibility, you know,
Yeah.
to be that uncle, to be that big brother, to be that
Yeah.
father figure for a lot of these, you know, adolescents and teens that either didn't have that or was away from their natural family because
Yeah.
now they're studying abroad or they're going to
Right.
school,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So what would be, you know, what would be something that you can share for those, like you said, um that maybe they've thought about it, maybe they're empty nesters, because there's a lot of people whose, you know, children now are going off to school, they're moving out of
Mhm.
home. If you know, if they're blessed to be able to do that, I know that, you know, in Hawaii there's a lot of multi-generational families that live together, so they get to be
Yeah.
around, you know, their grandchildren and, yeah, their keiki and stuff. However,
Yeah.
what would you say to someone that's like an empty nester, that's like, my kids is grown and gone, I raised them, and you know, now, however, they have the means, they have the love, they have the nurture, they have the finances, they have the space,
Yeah.
and that maybe they've thought about fostering, or if they thought about something like that, like what would be something that you could share with them? Because I know it could have been a big decision to make, you know,
Yeah.
and maybe even a little scary. So what would you say to them?
So I love how you asked that question. I'll answer it like this. If you're thinking about it, that means you should do it.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, really. Um, and on top of that, you painted the perfect scenario as far as who could take care of other people's children. uh, I guess, for my wife and I, we weren't all that financially, successful, but
Okay.
we just had a we just had a big heart to care for others, and so number one, I would say do it. Number two is if it's foster, if you're taking in foster children, oh man, they need good foster parents. They're so behind in the system. I mean, sometimes they just have to place someone in emergency situation because they have no one else, even though that family might have already 10 foster kids. It's not ideal. And so here's the thing, they for foster kids, they take you through training.
Okay.
I think there's like a 2 week course they take you through as far as what to be aware about history. Some kids might have uh, drug addiction problems, abuse in their
Yeah.
family, and so they train you as far as what to look for and how to be sensitive to situations, and so just being open to that and for that experience, and uh, being able to just spend time with them, show them your love, give them attention. That's what they really, really need, because the reason why they're in this system is they, for whatever reason, they never got any of that. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know, just treat them like your own, or maybe better than your own. Yeah, I don't know what else. What else? What else can I say? I mean,
Yeah.
it's a it's a good experience. I mean, oh, I'll put it this way. And then on the flip side, if you're thinking about hosting exchange students, I mean, they come all ages, depend on which program you choose. There's several programs here in Hawaii. We went with, I think it was called EF, Education First.
Okay.
So we had kids from 16 to 54. I mean, not a kid, but the oldest
Right.
we have 54, and
Okay.
those are so interesting experiences because they're here to learn English. That program, they're here to learn
Okay.
English, and so that 54-year-old, he was from Italy. He spent 9 months with us. The very first day, he knew nothing. He couldn't speak like very little. My wife and I were out, and he came early. We were supposed to pick him up, but somehow he came early, and I was trying to explain to him where the key was to our house. I guess I can say it because we don't put it there anymore. But I was trying to tell him it's on the light. It's on the light. And he couldn't understand that. Like on the light. And then it took me like 10, 15 minutes on the phone just to tell him the key's on the light. And then when he got it, he said, "Oh, Illuminati, Illuminati." I go, "Yes, Illuminati. Key, open door." um, but with that said, what I was going to say about that is that that is a different experience because once again, depending on the program, for that program, we had to feed them, I think, breakfast and dinner. The contract, right? The contract was we kind of feed them breakfast and dinner, and then on weekends, just I think it's supposed to be 3 meals. Here's the thing: even though the 4 or 5 years that my wife did it, and the 65 boys that we've had, we realized some boys can eat more than others.
Yes. 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 And
I mean,
adolescent girls, they can eat a lot too. Like, where are you putting
yeah,
this?
yeah. We only had 5 girls because we only have one bathroom. We didn't
Okay.
we didn't want to make that an issue, so we focus on boys. But yeah, we had 2 German boys, 16, and these boys are like 6'3", 240, 16. Oh my gosh! So like, how many pancakes you want? Like 10? Like, what? Um, so it's something to think about. You can ask questions and you can try it out, and don't do any of this for the money because whether it's a foster parent or as a host family, yeah, don't you're not gonna get paid a whole lot. I mean, you're doing it for the love of it.
Yeah.
You care for people.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, there's so many things, experiences I could share, but yeah. Oh, here's something really really special. So over the years, since we've hosted, I think we stopped in 2016, so it's 5 years now. A lot of the students come back to Hawaii, and when they do, they come visit us,
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
it's such a special bond. I mean, I feel like their uncle, like a big brother, like you said earlier. And
Yeah.
this one boy, Fabian, who's here now from Switzerland, he married a local girl. He ended up marrying um, another host family, the
Okay.
daughter. So they came here, we hung out, we just took them to lunch Tuesday at Ninja
Oh,
Sushi.
wow.
Right. I
That's
mean,
awesome.
right. So we, I mean, we took kids from all over. Switzerland was probably the biggest, but Germany, Russia, China, Japan, Portugal, Spain, Brazil, Mexico, France, Italy, not Denmark, Canada. I mean, we have so many places we can visit, you know, and that would take us in, and these bonds are lifetime bonds. They're like extra children, you
Yeah.
know. So yeah, it's special. If you're thinking about do it, that means you should do it.
Yeah. That's awesome. And all of those things that you shared are amazing tips for people to think about. And again, like you said, it's an outward focus in order to do it because you genuinely care, because you genuinely love people, not
Mm.
for a check. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like if
yeah,
you do it with the wrong intentions, you're not gonna get the proper outcome or the
yeah,
results. However, when you do it because you genuinely want to connect with people and you want to be there to support them, to help them, to cheerlead them, to be that light in their life for a
yeah.
season and for a reason, then definitely
Right.
take full advantage of that. Because it's definitely a
Absolutely.
desire that I have as well too. That I would like to foster and or adopt. I do, things in the community as far as like outreaches when it comes to those in foster care or
Mm,
at-risk youth, etc.
mm,
That's something that I'm really passionate about to be able to give back and to be, that um, common ground, you know what I mean? Because I also
Yeah.
feel like, you know what I mean, the cool auntie that can still relate to them and be relevant, kind of know what's going on. So I don't give off that, maybe motherly or parental, type
Yeah.
of energy
Yeah.
to them, for them to open
Yeah.
up and to connect with. But I really love it. And it also is something that allows you to be authentic, right?
Mm.
Because when they're at that age, it really is they, I mean, they see through the BS more or
Yeah.
less,
Yeah.
and that's why, sometimes you have to come at them from a place of being authentic and truly connecting with them, in order to be able to effectively communicate with them, whatever that is. And then on
Yeah.
top of that, it sounds like with the, foreign exchange students that come in all, different ages, you also have a language barrier. So
Yeah.
if you're not able to communicate with someone in their natural tongue or language, the universal languages that we speak to people in is what? Our eye
Yeah.
contact, our physical demeanor, so nonverbal communication,
Yeah.
jazz hands, or whatever it is, your smile, your hug or your embrace. And
Yeah.
those are the things that, like you said, it doesn't even matter if you think like, oh, it's light, like that's for us would be considered like a simple term. However, it was so out of his context that it was like, you find ways to communicate with them. And that's really great, because that's an
Yeah.
opportunity for us to grow, and to
Yeah.
ultimately illuminate and let our own light shine, for
Yeah.
those that we come in contact with. So that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So yes, if you're thinking about it, do it. It's a thought for a reason. Follow through on
Yes.
that.
Yes. I
Okay.
love that.
So, you said something that was interesting to me, because a student is a student. Like, we're all continuous, or subscribe to be, right? Continuous learners. We learn something new every day, strive to grow and learn in things. And I think that overall, when I think of foreign exchange student, I think of someone from like high school to college age, right?
Yeah.
However, there's so many people that are starting on second, third careers, or that maybe they didn't have the opportunity, or in order to pursue their studies to a higher, level. So that was really unique to say that, like, yeah, like we had someone that was, as mature as 54,
Yeah.
that was also a student. And I think
Yeah.
that that's really great encouragement for people that feel as though I don't want to be the oldest person in that class, or
Mm.
studying that subject, or going back for this degree. But maybe you
Yeah.
stopped and you raised a whole family, and now you are a grandparent and you want to
Yeah.
finish getting that degree. That's something also that can be very inspiring for others. That there's
Yeah.
no age limit on being a student.
Yes, I love that. I definitely put a lot of honor on him. His name was Francisco. I mean, wanting to be better and wanting to learn and grow, like you said, forever learners. Here's one thing. By the time he left at 9 months, he was pretty good. He was so good, in fact, maybe about 7 months in, he started teaching Italian to English speakers here in Hawaii. And he made that kind of like
Oh,
a side, like $20 a lesson or something like that. I mean, that's how good he got in 7 to 9 months. I mean, um, and that's a testament to him and his willingness to change and be better and learn the language and the culture. I mean, in 7 months, you can learn Italian, you know?
yeah. Yeah, it's possible. And I mean,
Right.
during that time, I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're a local boy. So like, do they ever kind of like pick up on the, like, you know what I mean? The pigeon a little bit, get a little,
Yes. It's more confusing to those who come here knowing a little bit of English already,
Oh, okay.
right? I try not to speak pidgin. I'm very
Right.
aware of who I'm talking to, but sometimes it does slip out. Like, oh, the Cain, go to the Cain.
Yeah, yeah.
What's
Right.
that? Yeah. So, yeah, just being aware, and they'll tell you. You can,
Yeah.
if you're paying attention to them too, their facial expressions, they'll tell you.
Yeah. The deer in headlights. Like,
Yeah.
should I write this one down? Is this a new word that I,
Yeah.
use it in a sentence?
Yes.
Definition, please.
Perfect example, real quick. Um, my wife and I were in the mainland. My mom was in the hospital, and the nurse came in. We were in Seattle, and her urine bag was full. So I told the nurse, "Oh, you have to change. I think you have to change her shishi bag."
Yeah.
And she looked at me like, "What?" Oh, urine, urine. I'm sorry, urine.
Yes, that does happen. It
Yeah,
does. It just becomes just
a
yeah,
thing.
a thing. It's a
Yeah,
thing. It really is. It
it
really is.
is.
Because I mean, I've been in Hawaii now for 13 years, you know.
Okay.
So like, being a transplant coming from the mainland, like we have our own, slang,
Right.
terminology and stuff that we use as well too. So now I'm just kind of like a hybrid,
Yeah.
So when I go home, originally back to the mainland, then that's kind of, for over, a couple of years of going back and visiting and things like that. I
Uh-huh.
call Hawaii home now.
Nice.
However, when I go back to where my family and stuff is from, that it was always just kind of like, yeah, you've been out there for a while, cuz you know what I mean? Like you've been out there for a while. I would say things, or I would, use, certain phrases and things.
Yeah.
And not even trying to force it or anything. It's just, when you are living here and
Yeah.
you're in the community and you're working, you're gonna pick up certain things,
Yeah.
so it
Right.
was always like that, so then when I would go back there, people would be like, where are you from? Like, I'm from here. They're like, no,
Yeah.
you're not. You're definitely not from here. And it's like, well, it's been a while. So
Yeah.
yeah, but that's
Nice.
part of the culture. That's the beautiful thing of Hawaii. I
Yes.
love that about Hawaii is, the fact that it is such a melting pot, and that you could meet someone from Germany, meet someone from Switzerland, meet somewhere,
Mm.
what I mean, from one of the
Mm.
other Polynesian islands, meet someone from all over the world, especially with the schools and the people that want to come here in order
Yeah.
to experience the aloha as well too,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty big. That's pretty big. So
Where are you from? I want to ask. I want to know.
originally from Ohio. So I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. And then I
Okay.
moved here directly from a city that's more outside of Cleveland, known as Warren, Ohio. And
Okay.
so yeah, I bought a one-way ticket, a red eye out here in 2008. And I've been out here ever since. So
Nice.
yeah, it is what it is. I
What brought you
definitely would,
here? Sorry.
people definitely, they ask me like, now that I've been out here for a while, and they're like, are you from here? And I say like, no, I'm not, born and raised. However, I
Mm.
grew up here,
Yeah.
moving to Hawaii as a young adult, on
Mm.
my own, had never been out here to visit or anything. It really did allow me to grow into the woman that I am today, and
Yeah.
I definitely, before I had my own, blood here, um, I definitely had, Hanai aunties and uncles and cousins
Nice.
and, what
Yeah.
I mean, the whole nine.
Yeah.
So I definitely felt the aloha, and it's definitely been an amazing experience. It's not been all pineapples and
Mm.
rainbows and coconuts.
Right.
However, it's been a beautiful journey, and I definitely am blessed, to call Hawaii home for so many years and everything like that. So
Nice. Nice.
yeah, I definitely enjoy it. So as of right now, you said some of the things that you're focusing on. So are you focused more on like what you're doing when it comes to the speaking and the coaching, and also like the Toastmasters? So tell us a little bit about that, because you're a champ, and
Yeah.
so how's that experience been?
Yeah. I joined Toastmasters in 2008. Immediately had to take a little break because of some medical issue, and then I came back in about late 2009, 2010. And it was then in 2010 when I saw my, oh no, 2009 when I saw my first Toastmasters speech contest. It was the state finals. It was a humorous speech contest. And once I saw it from beginning to end, I was hooked. I said, I can do that. And
Mm,
so I started learning, and I competed my first year, 2010. I did okay. I took second at the state level. Toastmasters International is a group that teaches public speaking and leadership skills.
Okay.
So they have four or five types of contests. They have an evaluation contest, humorous speech contest, an inspirational speech contest, which is called the International Speech Contest, and evaluation. Oh, table topics, where you speak off the cuff.
Okay.
And so my first contest in 2010 was the humorous speech, and I took second at the state level. And I was like, man, yeah, I got a trophy for that. It's somewhere back there.
Yeah, I see you got some bling back there. Yeah.
Yeah. That was my first trophy, and then I came back in May of 2011 was my first. The international speech contest for Toastmasters is the big deal because it goes up all the way through the international level, where at the end, out of 9 or 10 finalists, they crown the world champion of public speaking. And so after competing in 2010, they said, you could be the world champion of public speaking. People put that in my ear and my heart and my soul. And so since 2011, I've been pursuing that goal. It's a hobby. Toastmasters is a hobby, one that I thoroughly enjoy. Just like any of your hobbies, whatever you guys do as far as hobbies, I that's my hobby. And so, um, 2011, I won my first district finals, and once again, that's this here in Hawaii. It covers the whole state. So I got to travel to the mainland. Uh, it was in Vegas that year where I competed. There were about 90 semifinalists, and we 9 and 10 semifinal groups, and then they took the top one for each of those semifinals, and they go to the finals. So that first experience, I didn't place. It was a great experience. I thought I did well. I gave the speech of my life that I could give at that time. And then I tried again in 2011. I fell short at the state level. Took a break, 13, 14, came back 2015. I won again. And it just so happened that semifinal level was in Vegas again. And there I placed the highest, was my third place finish in the semifinal level. So I was the top 30 in the world, basically. And went back again, 2016, state champion again, went to semifinals in DC. I did not place. And then I took a break, 17, 18, 19. I was coaching others. I mean, I feel I'm a better coach than speaker, really.
Mm.
That's how I feel. I love coaching. But then, it's still my goal. So in 2020, last year, I came back and I won again. Um, but they had changed the format. So instead of winning, once you win the state, now they go into this video contest. And anyway, it gets all technical. Um, that was last year. I'm back again this year. So I have a division level contest coming up on April 24th. I'm not sure when you're going to air this, but
Exciting.
yeah. So if the winner of that division contest goes to the district contest, the kind of state level. But this year I decided to compete out of a different state because everything's online. It's all virtual. So I joined the club in Arizona,
Okay.
and I'm competing out of Arizona. It's a different venue, different vibe. The reason why I did that is because the stakes are higher. Here in Hawaii, I kind of know the level of competition, and on top of that, they take the top two from each round to move up to the state level. In Arizona, they only take top one. So here in Hawaii, I knew I didn't really have to prepare. I didn't have to practice. I just could show all my stories and I'll move on. I'll make it to the state level, without much work. And so I wanted to
Mm.
challenge myself. So that's why I joined a different district, and
Okay.
I have to be that one to keep moving on. And so that's where I'm at currently, right now. I'm getting ready for April 24th.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, I am definitely holding that vision to see you as an international speaker, an international champ.
Yeah.
That definitely would be, a great look for yourself, just in your testimony alone of what you've overcome, the light that you've been so many, the fact that you've been
Mm.
such a great coach to others as well, to
Mm.
help them on that journey, and then to be, a local boy from, Hawaii
Yeah.
that goes and, wins speech on an international platform. So that's
Yeah.
really huge. I definitely hold that space and hold that vision to see you. And I personally, would be open. I think I visited a couple of Toastmasters,
Uh-huh.
even so, thinking of having a podcast and just wanting to be a better, more effective communicator,
Yeah.
and they had a couple of exercises, that you do even as a guest.
Yeah.
I'm open for feedback. I don't think that I was, just kind of walking in off the bat. I mean, like, it was good feedback, and I'm
Nice.
not sensitive. However, some of the critiques, it was just like, I'm just gonna stay here quiet next time. I probably won't talk, but that's where my mind was at that point in time. However, the feedback that they gave me are things that I'm more mindful of.
Mm.
Like they talk about the fillers and your
Yes.
rate in which you speak, and coming from the mainland, I learned that real quick being in Hawaii, that I was just like, just talking super fast, and it just
Yeah.
was, not connecting, with people. So I realized, like, okay, you know what I mean? Put you on the
Yeah.
break a little bit,
Yeah.
so that I think it's, it's a thing of, the settings and where you're from and stuff, like you said. So, like, even for you to push the caliber further, like you said,
Mm.
to, compete out of Arizona, it's
Yeah.
because it's allowing you to grow. It's
Yeah.
allowing you to challenge yourself and to arise to a different level, because it puts a different demand on you.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
for you to want to do that, I mean, it is brave, because you could have, like you said, honestly, just been like, I'll win another year in Hawaii,
Yeah.
and yeah, that would have been great, and it would have been a great accolade. However, it didn't really allow you, to kind of push yourself to grow and elevate to a new level. So
Yeah.
that's very commendable to take that
Yeah.
on, because we like to do what comes naturally to us, or what is easy, for us. And sometimes when we actually have to step out of our comfort zone, right, there's a bigger risk, yet there's a bigger
Yeah.
payoff. So that's
Yeah.
that's very commendable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, that's really great. Okay, so yeah, just tell us a little bit about, okay, so you told us that you have one of the qualification rounds, or you have a round coming up on April
Yeah.
24th. And
Mm.
then, so are you still a part of a Hawaii chapter of Toastmasters, or?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. I belong to two clubs here locally, and it's fairly inexpensive. It's I think it's $45 every 6 months, so $90 a year.
Okay.
It's Yeah, it's fairly inexpensive. So I belong to two here in Hawaii, and then the one in Arizona. And yeah, I mean, I've learned a lot through the years. I've really put myself through um, my, like we were talking about earlier, forever learners, my own educational process as far as how to be a better speaker, communicator, leader, coach. Um, One of the things that helped me early on, I remember before my 2011 first win, I always loved the movie, not The Rookie. Oh gosh, why am I drawing a blank on the name? It's a baseball movie with Robert Redford,
Okay.
and the theory in that movie, basically, he was a really good batter because when he was younger, he was a really good pitcher. Okay, so he could understand what pitches were coming toward him. And so for me, I felt early on, without even hearing this advice, that if I wanted to be a good speaker, I needed to be a good evaluator, a person who could give good feedback.
Okay.
So I have like I'm using it as my mic stand, but I had like so many of these notebooks, and I took notes on YouTube speeches in these notebooks, and I must have done like over 500.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
I was serious. I basically, for me, I just drew a line down the middle, what I thought was good, where I thought they could improve.
Okay.
And um, that process alone helped me to get better quicker.
Mm.
Reviewing everyone's different. Their style is different. How they start there is different. Their messages, I mean, some of the messages were the same, but how the perspective they came at it, um, I loved giving feedback. Even though I wasn't giving feedback to them, I was thinking in my mind, how would I give the feedback to them in a positive, inspiring way? And so that's why I feel I'm a better coach. I've been coaching speakers now since about 2011, since I won my first state championship. I put on a workshop right after that about goal setting, and I've been doing these little workshops here and there throughout the years, keynoting for several companies, coaching, not just Toastmaster speakers, but people who need to give presentations. I remember finding a lady, just having a conversation off of Eventbrite. She was getting ready to give a 1 hour keynote to joint service. I forgot what it's called. Joint service. It's the military,
Okay.
family, military families.
Hmm.
That's back then when we were in person. And I just said, "Hey, do you want a second pair of eyes? To go over your speech?" She goes, "Oh, how much do you charge?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, this is how much I charge." But that was the first time I ran into that experience where I got paid for helping someone outside of Toastmasters, and those experiences keep popping up here and there. It's not enough to make a living, but it's enough to have fun,
Yeah.
and it's something that I really really love. And yeah, so I forgot what the question was, but
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. So now that we're on that, we're on that topic, tell us about this upcoming TED Talk, because TED Talk has become popular over the years, and you definitely can go down, a rabbit hole of trail talks, of TED Talks, the rabbit trail of TED
yes,
Talks on a
yeah,
variety of topics, things that are, out there, that are avant-garde, that are, a lot of times conversations that we don't have on a regular basis. So tell us a little bit more about what your endeavors are when it comes to a TED Talk.
okay. So first of all, I'm not currently booked to give a TED Talk. I was
Okay.
just asked. I was asked to submit to a couple places, Atlanta and Laie. Laie is doing one, I think, during the summer. And but here's the thing, in 2011, so I guess that was like the turning point for everything. My grandson was born. I was breaking free of my habit. I was a Toastmaster, a speaking champion, and and in 2011, I volunteered to be on the TEDx Honolulu speaker curation team.
Okay.
Right. So we wanted to find the best of the best here in Hawaii. We ended up choosing 22 different types of performances, speakers, and that was a wonderful experience in and of itself to see these guys. I think we interviewed like 80, 86 people, acts, all kind of. We had musical performances, and I think Jake Shimabukuro was one of them. And going through that experience, I saw myself wanting to be on the other side, right? Wanting to be the speaker on the stage teaching people at TED during a TEDx event. And so that's since 2011. One of the tenets, obviously, if you know TED, is that you're sharing, it's one idea worth sharing. All right. And all this time, I never felt I had that one idea. I mean, I
Okay.
have tons of ideas, but not that one,
Yeah.
Uh, until last year. Uh, Once again, I'm preparing for the state finals. It's a week out. And I do what I normally do. I'm praying on how I could just be, I love your nickname, the messenger, how I could just be the voice, right? It takes a lot of pressure off of you if you know you're just sharing what someone else wants you to share. And so as I'm praying, I get this impression, well, Cain, all you gotta do is share your gift. And I'm like, what? What gift? What are you talking about? And then he said, well, for about 7 years prior to last year, I always felt that this was my gift. However, I'm gonna lay it on you. It sounds hooey at first. I never wanted to accept it because it sounded so weird, right? But I felt this way because as coaching people, it really it felt true. So I felt that my gift at that time was I can hear people's thoughts. Okay, and just still me saying it sounds I'm getting better at it. Um, but then but then the voice came back and said, confirm, yeah, that's your gift. You can hear people's thoughts. Even in that prayer, I was a little hesitant. It was a long prayer. It was like over an hour. I was going back and forth, you know what I mean? And so in that experience, even though I was fighting a little, I finally came into acceptance. I said, okay, fine. That's my gift. I am open to it. I truly accept it. But
Yeah.
what am I supposed to do with that? Right?
Mm.
And then once again the inspiration comes, well, the reason why you're such a good coach is because you can tell the people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. And when that hit me hard. I mean, I'm kind of tearing up behind my eyes. When that came, I literally cried and I was rolled up in a ball for 10 minutes on the floor. I was at work. I work as a my day job is a security overnight security guard from midnight to 8, and I'm alone in the office. It's pitch dark, and I'm on the floor in a ball crying because it really hit me. I really felt that.
Wow.
Yeah, and so now I came up across this theory. That was May 2008. Because of that inspiration, I started high performance presentations in July 2008 because I learned that a couple things from that experience. Number one is that a lot of people I feel were like me. They don't know what their purpose is in life. Why are they here, right? What's the purpose? And I felt like that for a long time, up to last year, until the message came, well, it's to share your gift. And then the other messages came was here's the important thing about a gift is that, well, first of all, let me ask you, do you feel a gift could be defined so many ways, right? It's your superpower, it's the one thing you're good at. We could be good at several different things, right?
Right.
But just the term, can you resonate with you having a gift? Do you know what your gift is?
Yes, that's a great
Okay.
question. Kind of in the ballpark. I don't know
Okay.
if I would say one thing definitively. However, I do believe that I have a gift.
Okay. So here's the thing, I just want to make sure that the word gift kind of you can relate to, right? Most people can
Yes.
relate to that. Yeah. They either know it, what their gift is, like some people are great singers, so they know, and that's why they're using it, right? The number one thing I learned there is that um, if it's a gift, you got to recognize that there's a giver,
Mm.
right? When that hit me, I'm like, oh yeah, and then you got to go to the giver, the source, on how to use your gift. Once you get that down, now you have a purpose. So I was told how to use my gift to help people tell them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. I started my company, High Performance Presentations, as a coaching company to do that, just that. That's my purpose. So that's my one idea with spreading. If you don't know what your purpose is in life, if you haven't really nailed it down, if you're like me, just floating around, I'm in my mid 40s, and why am I here? I know I'm meant to do something more.
Mm.
Find out what your gift is. When you
Mm.
find out what your gift is, it'll help you find your purpose.
Wow, that's powerful. That's awesome.
Right?
Well, I'm definitely like that's that. Yeah, that's that. When you're connected, you know what I mean, to the source,
Yeah.
and you get something like that, it's such a, you know what I mean, it's such an epiphany. It's such an aha
Yeah.
moment. You know,
Right.
it really does change the trajectory of where we're going, right? Because now we actually have a target. You know, we're not just
Yes.
like, okay, you know, we're going for that. When you get that, it's like, okay, now you have a target. So now you can hone in and recalibrate and, you know, in order to go after that target. So that's
Yeah.
really powerful. So definitely looking forward to the TED Talk.
Yes.
Um, and then you also have the podcast. So the podcast, you do it via Facebook Live, correct?
Yes. Yeah, we
Okay.
do.
And that's on what day and what time?
Every Monday, normally at 10 a.m. Hawaii time, but
Okay.
depending on our guests, like next on the 12th, next Monday, it's at 7 a.m. It's in our private Facebook group, so you have to kind of join the group if
Okay.
you want to be able to see it live.
Got
We
it.
do plan on uploading it on YouTube later when we have a lot of episodes, so then that way people can just go whenever they want.
And watch at their leisure. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, awesome, awesome. And then also you mentioned your what you do with your coaching, the high performance presentations. Where can everyone kind of find like your information? Do you have like a website? You have an Instagram? What does that look like for someone that's like, you know what? I, either have a fear of public speaking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
However, I don't necessarily know if I want to overcome it by seeing everyone in the audience naked, like
Yeah.
they give you like little different things to do, to get over a fear of public speaking. If someone wants to take that on, for themselves to enhance their communication or to be, a more effective communicator, where could they, reach out to you about that?
Okay. Great question. They could email me is the best right now.
Okay.
It's Cain at cainkamano.com. But uh, I don't have it yet. It's in the works. I know I'm a procrastinator too. I got to work on my website, but I have the domain name, so it's cainkamano.com. So
Okay.
you can just try and check there. Hopefully by the end of the month, it should be up and running. But the
Okay.
best
Excellent.
way is to connect with me right now. I just feel a lot of my energy is in the podcast.
Okay.
So come into the Backstory podcast with Cain and Laura on Facebook. That's the best way to connect with me through there and reach out. And if you want to know more how I can help you, I do have an Instagram account. I have like, I don't know, 900 followers, but I only have one post. It's so weird. I'm like, uh, I, I think it's C Kamano or Cain Kamano, one of those. Try those. Uh, but yeah, Facebook is normally the best place, or just email me, Cain at cainkamano.com.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Well, definitely reach out to Cain. If you're looking for honest feedback, he will tell you what you need to hear, not necessarily what
Yes,
you want to hear. However, it will be
yes,
from a place of being positive and edification. And as you can see, he's a gentle giant, amazing, soul and everything like that. So he will give you the feedback that ultimately you need and you will grow into embracing it, accepting it, and wanting to know it, right?
yes.
So I just want to thank you so much. I've definitely enjoyed our conversation.
Me too.
Off the cusp, it was really great, getting to know you, a little bit better and, just kind of where this conversation has, taken us. So I'm really grateful for that, as well as I know that the viewers and the listeners are also grateful. And in order to keep it at a high vibrational frequency, I do want to ask, what is the gem that you would like to drop for the viewers and the listeners today? What would that gem
Mhm.
be?
I recently came across this quote is from the movie Miracles from Heaven,
Okay.
and she was I think it was Jennifer Gardner's character was quoting Albert Einstein. There's two ways you can look at things. You can see nothing as a miracle or everything as a miracle. And I choose to see everything as a miracle. That way I'm grateful for everything. That's my gem.
That's
See
awesome. That's
everything as a
awesome.
miracle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see everything as a miracle. Yeah, the attitude of gratitude. And that's what we put out there is what we'll also give back when we show that we are grateful and we have that attitude. And I mean, everything is a miracle, from
It
being
is.
able to wake up to being able to, every
Yeah.
day, every moment by moment is a miracle. So if we
Yes.
look at it as though our cup is always, half full,
Yeah.
or as our cup is overflowing and abundant, it's all a miracle. So
Yes.
thank you for that, Jim. And again, thank you so much for coming on, and just, being honest, open, and transparent and authentic. So I appreciate you. And I definitely look forward to speaking to you again in the near future.
You're welcome, Nina,
And
aka the
just one
messenger.
last thing, let me plug in. I'm wondering when on the horizon the book is coming, because you showed me all the, you know what I mean, the journals and the books that you got. You got a whole
Yeah.
cabinet of books behind you. You're a
Yes.
speaker, so don't
Yes.
procrastinate on that too often. Let's get something so that you can, so that you can continue to share that light of yours. Waiting for that book.
Awesome. Will do. Yeah, it's definitely on my to-do list.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you. You have a great evening. Give those grandbabies some love, and you enjoy your evening. Aloha.
You too, Nina. Aloha. Love you.
Aloha. Love you too, bro.